didn't want to witness with her running out with like, I got bundles of cash, then fine. But I still would have just straight off. And I mean, come on. Well, I can see why they got a $100 million upgrade for their second film. This is Bound, which was released, the one thing I didn't do, 1996, with a budget of either $4.5 million or $6 million, and a box office of either $3,804,160 or $7 million. Who could tell? Wikipedia, which is actually very good for sources, is conflicting with the box office mojo. So who knows? Directed by and written by Lily and Lana Wachowski, with Jennifer Tilly, Gina Gershon, Joe Pantoliano, and John P. Ryan, and Christopher Milani in the biggest roles, I guess. I'm here with Brad and Milan. And we're going to jump into our 420 reviews. 420 reviews, as everybody knows. And we're going to jump into our 420 reviews. 420 reviews, as everybody knows. Our 20-word poetic reviews that have 4 lines per word till they go from 4 to that dope 20. So I'll start with mine, which is shared music DNA, Matrix, sublime control of camera, get out of the mob, take all the money, let your flag fly. What?
Dangerous pair of heels, masculinity in feminine form, a plot for money, a plot for freedom, sexual awakening and exploitation.
Brett?
Lesbians do a crime, mob gets money stolen, everyone suddenly starts sweating, modern take on noir, pay attention to lighting.
Oh, the one thing I forgot to add into mine was that glorious gun paint. But if you all want to add your 420 review, go over to moviesdope.com or patreon.com/moviesardope. Join. There's even free tiers. We'll ask when we need the 420 reviews, and we'll add them here. Yeah, I just finished it like 40 minutes before we started recording. Finally watching the first Wachowski sisters film. What'd y'all think?
I can definitely see. Obviously, the majority of people are going to know the Wachowski sisters from the Matrix. Hey, no fault to you. That's where I know them from, too. So I can see a lot of similarities between their first film being this one and then the Matrix, what they did second. There was a lot of similarities, a lot of things they tested out in this movie, like camera work, lighting. Bullet time was kind of in here, too, a little bit. Some of the fight scenes, the panoramic cameras where they like swoop over things and come back, or swoop around things to kind of like give you that dynamic feel. So you can definitely feel that they use this as a very good testing ground, and then got more money and was like, hey, how can we do this cooler cinematography wise and put it into the Matrix?
The music at the beginning of the movie, literally, I was like, oh, that's the Matrix. Wait, no, the Matrix had Bound, I guess, evolved versions in it. But I was very glad to see whoever their composer was, I'm assuming, continued on to the Matrix instead of being like, ooh, we just 20x our budget. We should get a real musician. It's like, fuck, whoever that is, talented.
Almost the entire cast is the same. Same directors, obviously, cinematographer, the director of filmography or whatever, and the musicians. Basically the core group of people.
Holy shit, Bill Pope did this?
Yeah, all went to the same movie.
He did Team America World Police. That's
very important film documentary for American history. Probably should be studied in schools.
Honestly, probably should have been. But yeah, the composer did all first 3 Matrix movies and also Jurassic Park 3. I'm on a huge delay. Do I look synced up to you?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. Yeah, it might need a little adjusting. Cool. Yeah, Milan, I think you're the only one of us, correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, who actually had seen this movie before we sat down to do it for the podcast. So what's your history with it?
So this was a film that I'd end up watching in college as part of one of my classes, actually. And it wasn't like we all as a class watched it, but it was kind of like, here are a selection of films that have elements of, LGBTQ themes and things like that, with the intent for us to kind of have discourse around it. And this was the film that some of my classmates and I chose to watch and kind of have discourse around. So, I do have like an academic background, as far as like how I first was introduced. I wouldn't even say first introduced to the film, but I guess how I best know the film. So, with that being said, overall, I think it's a a good movie, not a great movie, but I do think it's a good movie. There are definitely, plot holes that annoy me, but that's the case with, any movie really. Acting is, phenomenal, Jennifer Tilly, absolutely adore her, and there's just a certain thing about a way about her characters that just really draw you in. So like the acting and all of that was phenomenal. I think the things about this film that have always kind of been a push and pull for me is, we're talking about I guess we can probably go into this when we get into the spoilers and things like that. But it's just a very masculine take on lesbianism. And that's very interesting, especially when you think about the journey, for were they the directors?
Yeah, they wrote and directed.
Okay, so for the writers and directors, so when you think about their life journey and everything too, it makes that very interesting when you kind of think about the characters and the portrayal of that. While even so, it still is considered at that time the most accurate depiction of that in film. So like that says a lot. Like it's the most accurate depiction of it in film, but it's also very inaccurate in a lot of ways, while not taking away from the film itself, because that's not the main focus. And I think that's the thing that makes it so great. It was one of the first instances of a major film that had lesbianism at its core without that being the focus of it. So it doesn't take away from the film. It doesn't make you look at it so hard where you're just like, oh, that's not real, so it's not good. It's like, okay, that's a little inaccurate, but I'm here for it, type of a thing. So all in all, good film. It did, some positive things for the LGBT community as far as its inclusion and whatnot. But yeah, I think that covers it all as far as like non-spoilers.
To kind of add on top of that, it was cool to see not only LGBTQ, but then also they weren't like the damsels in distress. They didn't have to be saved. They were definitely the protagonists of this film. They weren't background characters. They weren't like I said, damsels in distress. They were the ones kind of running the show and kind of pulling the strings too, which was cool to see versus, them being background characters, side characters, or them needing a man to come save them where they're the ones actively running this movie.
Yeah, and to your earlier point, Milan, it's kind of fascinating to me because, of course, we don't know when Lily and Lana realized that they were trans, like they came to that conclusion. Maybe it was before this film, maybe it was later. I think it definitely was at least part of the equation around The Matrix, because they had a character named Switch who was supposed to be, I forget which is which, but let's say like in the real world they were male, but in The Matrix they would present female. That's why their name was called Switch. And then the executives were like, people know smart, people confused by that, please. So they had to switch it up. But as an exploration or as part of their journey to transitioning, it's interesting thinking that they took two characters and put them at almost exact opposite ends of the masculinity, femininity spectrum, maybe as a way for them to examine that or kind of put themselves in there. I haven't had the time to look up any interviews with them and see what extra context they could add to it, but cool. Yeah, we don't have Bradley Cooper's trivia. Bradley Cooper's much sexier than the real thing, so we could just get into the spoilers if y'all want to.
So first we should probably figure out what we rate this thing is. And I know we get tired of telling everybody this, but in case it's your first time here, Brian's going to go through the list of our tiering system, so that way everybody's on the same page. And we want to be fully inclusive of everybody. I don't want to leave anybody out on this, so that way everybody can have the fun too. I
just had to make a rating system that everyone would be required to call dope, whether they liked it or not, because it's all drug themed from S tier to F tier, and then a wild card at the end. We started ayahuasca, mushroom, edible, joint, and skunky, and then veer off the road when it's a fun time, but it's not a good time, but it's a fun time, but we can't say it's good, and that would be a Molly. Mine, I'll just throw out, I believe, was an edibly mushroom. I think it was pretty good, but I felt moments in the early dialogue, either it was part of the time period and they were leaning into that neo-noir aesthetic in the beginning, or it was just, okay, this dialogue needed a teeny bit of polishing and this felt like a first-time script. But I will say that faded after 20 minutes. But that's where I was coming from with the edibly mushroom. How about y'all?
It's going to be an edible joint for me. Again, overall, it's it's a good film. It's a good example of it's a good way to kind of watch the growth of these directors from the films that they've been doing and everything like that. And again, it was a great representation at the time of what was understood of, lesbian couples. And I think that that's something that has to be recognized. But is it a film that I'm probably actively going to go back to? Unlikely. There's definitely better representations of LGBTQ relationships and much better films out now that have that as a main protagonist in like similar contexts. So I feel like if I'm going for something that has, that feel for it, there's probably some better options out there now. But at the time, back in 96, this probably would have been one of the highly recommended films.
Nice. Right?
I'm going with edible. Some of the things I didn't like like you said, the first 20 minutes, they really leaned into the noir style conversations where it's like very quick back and forth of like very pointed in what they're saying, and like their response is almost immediate, which was kind of felt like if the whole movie would have been like that would have been fine. But it felt weird being the first little bit and then they faded out of it. Kind of like, like you said, in the first 20 minutes, once we finally meet Corky, right?
Corky?
Corky, yeah. So when we finally meet her, I think that's kind of when they start fading out of that. There's definitely some kind of plot holes in the back end of things of like how everything gets wrapped up. But I think the cinematography on this was fantastic. You can see the transition of lighting as a certain character starts to slip. You can see the lighting change. You can see their face goes from fully lit up to like partially lit up to half lit up to like now they're only showing the side of their face, only like a section of their face is lit up. So you can kind of like it kind of leads you through their pathway. They also did a lot of like oversaturation and undersaturation. So with certain like colors. So there's a couple scenes where like Violet's lipstick was like the only thing really in color at the time. Everything else was monochromed or a black and white type of effect on everything else, which is really cool. So I really like that style. I would say it's more modern than like a Schindler's List, where the only thing that was red was the little girl's dress. So it's a little bit more dramatic than that, in a sense of like there was more colors. Like there's a blood in certain scene that was like really red for a second, and then it got put to black. There's some blood in the beginning of the movie that like it's black, and then they kind of start to see the hints of color into it, so you can kind of infer what it is. So I thought those techniques were really cool. They did some really cool cinematography by flipping over walls. Like I said, the beginning part, the introduction, like bullet time to a sense, you can see where they started getting that kind of idea from. So despite some of the things I don't like about it, I think it's still a solid movie. So I mean, it's probably not a movie I'll go back to.
Yeah, and as an easy example, with the tiniest spoiler, because we figure out very quickly that this is true, when Corky goes into the bar, it's like, hey, Corky, how long has it been? I'll mess up the line, but it's like 5 months, 5 years, 3 months, 12 days. Let me buy you a drink. I'm like, all right, I've seen this scene in movies before, but to the point of the 5 years, I think it's justified more because they went to jail. It wasn't like, you're a bartender and I know exactly how many minutes it's been since I've seen you. But cool. We'll get into spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie and you want to, you are bound to get spoilers in 3, 2, 1.
Everybody dies. No.
I guess it's not a spoiler for this since this is the first shot, but I really was magnetized or captivated by that first upside down camera move in the beginning of the film with the very, in my mind, Matrix-esque music score. But yeah, and gosh, I literally had to rewind when the gun went through the paint because I was like, holy shit, that's a beautiful shot with it just spraying everywhere. But yeah, all I really knew was, I'm forgetting his name. The main thing I knew going into it was that Joe Pantoliano was going to be in the film, and I was curious how it would compare to his role in The Matrix. I think it turned out pretty well. I thought it was going to be a lot more violent than it was, based on what you said last week.
That was plenty of violence.
All right, well, I guess for context, I saw Obsession 5 times on Saturday, and that shit is fucked. I was traumatized the first time. This was like, damn, that's intense, but like not on the same level. Maybe I'm just desensitized.
I think you mean Captain Howard from Bad Boys. But anyway.
Woosah.
So one of the other cool scenes in this movie, which again falls into that like neo-noir type style, was when he did get shot. And I was like because he's in a white shirt, black pants, white paint on the floor. I think they're brown. You could see the edges of like the brown flooring. But then he gets shot, and then he has this bright red blood coming out, and it lands into the paint, and you can see it dripping into the paint, so it kind of like pool into puddles. So shots like that, I think, were really cool. Just like for first-time directors to do something like this, and something kind of because they do a lot of things different than what they've done before with the neo noir style, plus being so inclusive and having two lesbian characters as like the main driving focus of this movie, driving force. I mean, I think it was really cool to see them progress from this movie and being able to convince the studio to fund a movie so ambitious as Matrix. I mean, I think
especially when this had to have bombed, like technically.
Yeah, and you're pushing a lot of boundaries that weren't pushed at that time. So like not only your cinematography, but your social issues through this movie. So I mean, like it would be really easy for a studio to look at that and go, nope, too much politics, or nope, I don't like this. Especially in the late 90s, it would have been easy for them to just go, nope, sorry, you're good. But at least they got to film this project. But it just proves how well they did this movie, that they were able to convince basically a boardroom full of people to give them more money to do another movie.
Dude, I mean, but for real, I wish I was a fly in that wall of that room. I'd be like, okay, we may have broken even if Wikipedia is correct. So that means we lost $3.5 million. But damn, did they have some good cinematography and some good music and some good acting, and they stayed in budget. Yes, I think they could make the next groundbreaking action movie for 20 times the budget. Let's fucking go, boys. Like, how do you do that? That they had to have some kind of magic touch that is ethereal to be able to swing that. And probably Joel Silver, who we can thank for the I am Iron Man in Endgame moment. He was the producer on the first The Matrix movie.
But other than that, I mean, the cinematography was really good. The color pops was really good. I didn't mind the overall story, but there were some plot holes towards the end of like when they're trying to like escape, and how do like two professional mobsters not realize certain things when they're going through like the ending sequence of like, oh well, we went over to his house was trashed. Oh, you happen to be in the shower for the entire time we were calling you. Oh, your phone's off randomly off the hook. Oh, now it's not off the hook. Like, just there are some plot holes, because if they were calling him and the phone's off the hook, how does she call him using the same phone from inside? Or no, I think she used her cell phone, but like, your phone's off the hook, so why is it ringing through now?
Yeah, that was the only part that I was like, oh, he's fine.
Yeah, with that much blood on the floor too, like, how do the cops not smell it? Like, because I mean, that big pool of blood on the floor, and then you put a carpet on top of it, or like a rug. Then you're putting everything else, all your furniture on top. Like, how does the blood not seep through being pushed against it? So you should have like pools of blood on the carpet.
It was a black and white rug too.
Yeah, so like
later,
like how do you hear gunshots and then immediately know exactly what apartment it is, what apartment complex it's in, and be there within minutes?
Yes. Like, the minutes is fine, but this is a building with 64 units and there's only one occupant. Like, that's the
and they know exactly where that guy lives. They didn't even have to look, nothing. We're talking about the Chicago police, right? We're talking about the creme de la creme of police forces. Happen to know exactly where those shots came from, and then do zero investigating once they figure it out.
I'm assuming that's sarcasm of the as someone from a family of Chicago police officers. I will say I did, just as like a, not even an Easter egg, but I'm treating it as such. When they said Chicago's finest, and when you have lived in Chicago for as long as I have, and you watch The Matrix, that's not based in Chicago, but they keep saying intersection from Chicago, and it just feels cool knowing that. So having them explicitly say it, and I guess I should also mention that the Wachowskis are from Chicago, I believe. That was just pretty cool, and they went back here for Sense8, although, as native Chicagoans, in the first couple episodes, they have this really stupid part where Chicago police officer is on the south side, and then he goes for lunch at Superdog, which is in the neighborhood I grew up in on the far north side. I'm like, motherfucker, that guy is not driving an hour uptown to go to Superdog. This is for everyone who doesn't know anything about Chicago, just to be like, ooh, I've seen that on the internet. But anyway, I think you guys are going to be leading a lot of it, because this is a cool thing that I don't know that I have a lot of valuable things to add. Besides, I think the plot that they had to fuck over Caesar was pretty cool, and then I just love when people act understandably, but it doesn't go to the plan, and they adapted really well. But him killing all the 3 guys and just losing it slowly and trying to get his way out. Like, he was resourceful. He might have been able to get away with it if he was with how he was playing it, not with the rug. But
how do they not smell it too? I mean, because they noticed that the carpeting or the living room was rearranged, blah blah blah. And she blamed it on Violet. Like, you guys have tortured people. You guys know what like mass amounts of blood smell like. Like, how do you not know? Like,
and even without the spell, if we just go movie logic, it literally has to be red and black now. It has to be a joke of like, what's black and white and red all over? That rug, because 90% of it is now red and the edges are white still.
And there's goo spilling out the end of it. Why is there goo spilling out the end of it? Because like, it's a puddle. It's going to start slowly expanding, especially when we put things on top, but it's going to expand out. Like, yeah. Someone's
got a lot of knowledge about blood under rugs.
Movie logic.
But they even... Look, I could forgive it as movie logic if they literally never showed the squish, because then you could be like, all right, I guess if we want to go by that somehow, whatever. But they're literally like, nah, it bubbled up. It's there.
And Captain Howard had to, like, when he took the rug, he had to like scrape it to him, and then like he'd like when he put it down, he'd like adjust it like on top of the blood, like slide it around, just like, come on, Captain Howard, you can do better.
I will say the Feng Shui Wusa of the light in front of the bullet hole was clever. Because when he took off the painting, I was like, oh shit, there's a bullet hole. He places it right there. I was like, actually, it looks kind of aesthetic.
Yeah, so some of that stuff was just silly. Like, I mean, they did a really good job, like, character-wise, to, you know, think of things like that to fix. Because obviously we saw the bullet from that, I want to say Jason, it's not Jason, what's his name? Johnny. The Johnny shot missed.
That was a cool shot.
Yeah, so obviously they fixed everything that we knew that they had to fix. But yeah, the logic of it long-term doesn't work.
Will say I was surprised that Corky was, like, in the other room just for, like, 20, 30 minutes of the film, hanging out. But... Violet calling them back. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you calling? Just be like, it's going well.
But even then, so easy for her to just say, it's Corgi. I'm calling her to let her know that I have to leave so they don't question it. Like, she could have very easily come up with an excuse that he would have accepted instead of freaking out the way that she did. They should have had a plan for that.
But if I'm him, I'd be like, why are you calling Corgi? Like, why...
Because that's her only friend. That's her only friend. And that's kind of what was established when he was like okay with walking in on them. Like, she doesn't have a lot of people, especially not women, apparently, that come over and hang out with her. So I feel like that would not have been so far out of like the realm of possibility if she was like, hey, I'm covering my bases because the cops are going to go ask Corgi, who knows me, who's been over here, and letting her know that we have that, you know, I have to go.
Hey, so then you have questions like, why the fuck would they ask Corgi?
Well, because Corgi lives next door.
Oh no, she's the mechanic.
Yeah,
she lives next door. But I thought she lives there while she's doing the work.
I think she lives somewhere in the building with that the one guy was in, but she was repairing that building because she was doing all the painting and stuff.
They drive somewhere else. She lives in a different location.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, I thought it was that in that building because they're like, oh, normally when things happen when she seduces her for the first time, normally when this stuff happens, I call who it was, and then he just comes on over. Yeah. That made it seem like they lived in that building. But then,
I thought they were the same building too.
So she's sitting next door and she's listening. She can kind of hear things. Probably doesn't know the full scope of everything going on. Violet calls her, then calls back. She knows smartly not to say the first thing. Waits for
unplug immediately.
Yeah,
you already got away with the one ring.
Like, I've been talking about how thin the walls are. That should have been like your first thing.
Also, look, I
just leave it off the hook.
They had the paint plan, so I get why this didn't happen. But if I was Corgi and I did I'm slipping in with you leaving and I'm slipping out when you enter, I'm not going next door. I'm running down to the lobby and driving away immediately. But they did have the paint thing. So if like she wanted to say, no, I've been here the whole time doing this. I got my paints, and didn't want to witness with her running out with like, I got bundles of cash, then fine. But I still would have just fucked straight off. And I mean, God.
Yeah. So, I mean, what was she in prison for? Was it stealing something? Because I know he made that joke.
Redistributing wealth. So it sounds like she was
okay.
doing some Robin Hood shit.
Yeah, and
So
then
she didn't go
gave her away.
Yeah, so she probably didn't kill anybody before. So her plan previously was obviously either really good or really bad. Like, so you put a lot of trust into a character, into a person who went to prison for stealing. Like, you've already been caught once. Why am I going to trust you for two point whatever $1 million?
Like, I would have been more satisfied with the story overall if she had a betrayed Corgi in the end, because then it would have that would have made more sense to me, because it would have been like, okay, she targeted Corgi because of her background. She knew that she could use her despite with all the issues going on. Like, that's what I always thought initially was happening. So the ending always kind of like frustrated me a little bit, because I was like, okay, so she was just dumb enough to really think that all of that was going to work out. And granted, it did not work out because they were smart. And that's the other thing I hate about the description.
She was smart though, at the end.
But the description of the film makes it seem as if he's been outsmarted by two brilliant mastermind women. That is not what happened. Are they smart women that managed to get through and know, they have some good street smarts? Absolutely. But they are not brilliant. They got lucky in a lot of ways.
So you had mentioned Violet. You wanted Violet to like trick Corky at the end of the movie, basically. Correct? Is that how I understand
that? I mean, yeah, that's what I felt made more sense.
I'm also so paranoid that when they're leaving, if I was Violet, I'd be like, we're not making out for 40 minutes. Because they immediately get in a car and go, and if I'm that guy who just got kissed, I'd be like, who's she?
But I mean, Violet's fairly smart. I mean, she definitely knows that she's attractive, and she uses her voice a lot. And I don't know if you guys picked up on this or not, but like when she wanted to be seen as soft, or like her voice would pitch up. So she felt like she was like too weak or whatever. She did that to try and trick Captain Howard. I got to stop calling him that. Caesar. So she did it to Caesar, and I think she did it to the guy at the end. And then I don't remember if she did it to the police officers, but she pitches up to try and seem like defenseless or like a mouse type of thing. But then when she was talking to Corey or whatever, she'd drop her pitch back down to what would probably be her normal talking tone, and was able to communicate through that way. So it was cool to see her manipulate people by her pitch of her voice.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I guess I thought that the brilliant mastermind would not have been
Corky.
Like, okay, yeah, like I felt like her betraying Corgi in the end would have been like, yeah, that woman, she had it all figured out from the start. But you didn't get that payoff because it just kind of felt like they bumbled their way through. So,
but at the same time, like, I don't think this movie would have been the same like LGBT inclusive film if the two main lesbian characters betrayed each other. So I think at the end of the movie, they wanted them to be together. But I think they kind of fumbled how they got them to do that to that point. Like they should have had like both of them try and like double cross each other at some point in time, which would have made it feel a little bit better. That at the end that they came together, is that they both had their opportunity to cross. They did, but failed, and then had to come back.
I mean, my POV was that she is I think by her own words, a trapped lesbian. Like, she's lesbian, she doesn't want to be with these men, but she's trapped with Caesar in this business, in this mob, and her way to get rid of Caesar and get out is this scheme. And now she's got someone who's really good, but who got betrayed by a partner. So as long as she doesn't betray them and she puts her faith in this other person, because she really depends on this other person for a good chunk. Because again, she could have fucked right off and almost nobody would have been able to know her.
And she probably should have. And Corky shouldn't have put her trust in Violet. Violet shouldn't have put her trust in her. And at the end of the day, it worked.
See, I'm going to push back on that because women support women.
50-50. I'm going 50-50.
That was kind of I've seen a lot of reality TV shows. We don't need to bring reality TV shows into this. With all the behind the scenes tomfuckery to get everyone riled up and shit. But like, I could see them after their like connection and all that, I could see them going for it. Maybe starting out with a $2 million heist is a pretty intense trust exercise, but
especially when one of you already has the money and could have just left at any point. Could have just left with the money. You already had the money in the paint pails, trotted out to the parking lot. When they left, she follows them out to his car, out to the BMW, and they leave to go to Johnny's house, right?
Yeah.
Johnny's house. And then you've got time to just waddle your ass out there with 2 buckets of pails, throw them in the back of your truck, and you are gone forever.
She's got it down bad.
And see, and that's the beauty and the power of, oh gosh, what's her character's name?
Violet.
Violet. But yeah, that goes back to like the power and the beauty of Violet's character, where I feel like they really misstepped. Like if they had just kept little portions of that intact, it would have really emphasized how brilliant like they meant for her character to be, even if she didn't betray her in the end. I think that there were ways that they could have done things where it didn't quite feel like she was bumbling so much towards the final part.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, they should have talked a little more and made a meetup plan somewhere else, because if they don't need to update each other and they can just say in 3 days we'll meet here, because like overdo it, not just say by noon tomorrow or something, but 3 days we meet at this train station. Then everything's done. Violet is hopefully the one who is least in the crosshairs of any type of things, because one, the mob hopefully could be a little misogynistic and be like, she's just a pretty dame. She doesn't know anything that's going on. It's season.
Well, and she flirts with all of them too, so they're all very trusting of her.
Yeah, so you could be like, especially when they leave, take the paint cans. I'll be like, I'll see you in 3 days. You can trust me or you don't, but either way, you are very likely to have survived, and we'll meet up there. But it is literally the every second needing to text each other through the wall updates. Could have even just done like with how thin the walls were. Good, done. Like I'm good.
Yeah, because I mean that's where Violet like really slipped, was like when she called her on the phone. I mean that's when like he shifted his focus from Johnny fucked me to no, actually that was you. That was when Caesar really started figuring everything out, or at least figuring out enough that she was involved. So if she didn't have to call her, or like, yeah, I know it's 96, they have a cell phones, but like, yeah, a simple knocking system, or like,
or just the thin walls trying to be like, it's okay, like right up to the wall, maybe with a glass, like, it's okay.
Or if you have to call her in that situation, okay, everything's going okay, blah, 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 and then like hang up. Now she's like, there's something I have to tell you. And then they're like, I have something I have to tell you too. And then he comes into the room like, come on, I know we're doing this for dramatic effect and like to make this suspenseful, but like you didn't have to do all that.
So does it seem like a mistake that would be in character for her, or a cheap machination of the plot to get us to the next part? Because if it's
absolutely cheap,
okay,
cheap plot,
because with how much in love with they are with each other, I could believe it. I still think it's fucking stupid. I'm like, what are you doing? But
I think it'll be the opposite, because like she knows how dangerous Caesar is. If she if the feelings for her are that strong, the last thing she's going to want to do is draw any additional attention to Corgi. So I feel like it was just a way to move the plot forward. We know he had to find out about Corgi, and realistically, that was probably the only way, because they did have a pretty solid plan. They did.
It was executed effectively, and the turns that they needed him to turn worked. The only thing that didn't happen that they wish it would have happened is
he didn't run immediately.
Yeah, he didn't run immediately, or didn't allow her to run immediately. That was the only thing wrong in their plan. I think once that happened, they adjusted really well. But yeah, I think it was just cheap in this case, because they needed the movie needed Caesar to turn on Violet.
But Caesar being anti-running, like big anti-cardio guy, real bummer. It's interesting how all the photos are, if you're on IMDb, they're all black and white and noir. It's really cool. Seeing Lana and Lily, little baby directors for the first time. Oh, yeah? The title sequence. I like with the shadow of Bound and how it kind of faded away or swiped. I don't know what you call the transition to get away. Even the title sequence is really cool. But
a very noir type of thing to do, to like have your title and then like fade away from it. Have a noir thing to do too, which is kind of just setting us up for the entire movie.
For anyone interested, the French poster for this or DVD cover is really cool, because it's just the lady's nose, red lips, and sunglasses with dollars reflecting from the sunglasses. But it's really cool. It's the 9th picture on IMDb. But cool. Like I said, I think Joe Pantoliano did a great job in this one. I think he knocked it even more out of the park in The Matrix. But oh shit! Sorry, I just realized that the French poster had Joe Pantoliano shot with red blood dead on the poster, and I think it's saying in theaters. So spoiler on the poster, damn. And who could forget? I didn't forget. Of course not. Is this movie bound better than... Wait, where'd the pictures just go? Godzilla -1, which is our current all-timer.
For me, it is not.
Yeah.
I think I am bound to say that this movie is not better than Godzilla -0.
Yeah. Cinematography, I think it has higher highs, but I think as a whole, it's great. It's just not at the same total height because Godzilla is so tall. Like, these are human-sized people in an apartment complex. Sorry, condo complex. Cool. Our all-timer is still Godzilla -1, but now we can actually have different trajectories instead of it constantly going up. If I remember correctly, this movie may be an edibly mushroom. This movie may be an edible, and this movie may be an edibly joint. But no matter what, it's it's not this. But I really want to reference Dropout and say that was a gender cascade because it was cascading downward. But this movie is dope because movies are
dope.
Bye now. I felt like we were pretty close. You like sped run that shit. You were like,
I kept trying to slow it down, and it kept widening the chasm. So I'm just going, movies are dope. I did forget to go for the first one, which is my bad, but we'll fucking get there.
6 years later, they got one.
And editing, Brian, remember to put in, I'm getting the fuck out of there as the intro to the episode. Because that was a great...
fuck right off.
Oh, yes, that's right.
I'm living in a movie, there's a scene you gotta jump. I got my people at the viewing who all knew me selling tickets. Yeah, they talking about the beauty. I see Scorsese outside saying this isn't cinema. Free man, I ain't doing shit tomorrow, I don't need plans. I'll be kicking it till April off of $3 grand. I don't even need the money, I just need fans.